Hi everybody, my topic is Space, Time and Architecture by Sigfried Giedion. Firstly, Space, Time and Architecture is a book and it's about the cultural context of modern architecture and urban planning. Its author is Sigfried Giedion and first published in 1941. Sigfried Giedion born in 1888 in Prague. He was a Bohemian-born Swiss historian and critic of architecture. He studied mechanical engineering to please his family. However, later on he realized that it wasn't what he wanted for the rest of his life. Then he decided to study history of art. He finished University of Munich in 1922 with a successful dissertation and it means senior graduation project on late Baroque and Romantic Classicism under the supervision of a respected art historian Henrik Wolfrin. After the 1922 was the first direct contact of Siegfried with modern architecture. Sigfried Giedion visited Bauhaus exhibition which was held in Weimar in 1923. This date is also important for the beginning of his close relationships with the successful architect and the founder of the Bauhaus, Walter Gropius. Also here is the point, such exhibitions were highly important for the development of the newly supported ideas in architecture, especially on the way leading to modernism. Also, Sigfried Giedion met at such exhibitions important modern architects such as Le Corbusier and Walter Benjamin. To sum up, he continued writing art and architectural history until the day before his death in April 1968. Now, I wanted to mention about a little bit Celen. It's the International Congress of Modern Architecture and it was an organization founded in 1928 and disbanded in 1959. The Congress focused on the modern movement, all the main domains of architecture such as landscape, urbanism and industrial design. It was founded in Switzerland by a group of 28 European architects organized by Le Corbusier, and Sigfried Giedion was the first Secretary General. That's why I mentioned about Siam. Siam was a good opportunity for Siegfried and he have met important architects like Le Corbusier as I mentioned about before and also the organization was hugely influential. Now I wanted to mention about space, time and architecture. The book consists of 10 chapters. In the first part, History a Part of Life, he mentioned about Henrik Wolfling, and he states that he tried to follow Wolfling's method in his own first book. And also, in this part, Siegfried talked about 1880s European architecture. He taught that Chicago was the center of architectural development not merely for the United States, but for the whole world. In the second part, our architectural inheritance, he talked about the new space conception perspective. The topic also contains the wall, the square, and the street. He gives example about Giorgio di Vasari. He says that the continuous lightly triple cornice, seen with the symmetrical outline of the roof above, make this a masterpiece of perspective in depth. In the third part, the evolution of new potentialities, Siegfried talks about industrializations and also new building problems and new solutions. He thinks that industrializations gave the opportunity to life to expand. In this part, he mentioned about market halls, especially market hall of the Madeleine in Paris, You can see the example in this picture. It was the one of the earliest examples of the attempts of 19th century engineers to combine elegance with economy of materials. That's why it's so important. Now I am going to talk about a little bit Giedion's relations. As I said before, Sigfried Giedion was very much involved with modern architecture, and he was a part of a modern architecture. In Sigfried's writings or in the process of his academic career, the parallel evolution of his opinions along with Gropius and Le Corbusier's can be observed. And also, as I said, Siam provided an interaction between him and the supporters of modern architecture. Now, I am going to give some general information about space, time, and architecture. Sigfried inserted new topics according to the developments in architecture. It's firstly aimed to understand and analyze space, time, and architecture in the first place. Also, people could see the book as a model of history and theory of modern architecture. Most importantly, it leads to a new method of history writing and criticism. But of course, only this book is not enough for getting into the very issue of modern architecture. Also, while he was writing this book, his aim was not only analyzing the past but also evaluating the present and anticipating the future. In the Space-Time in Art, Architecture and Construction chapter, the reader encounters with the birth of new art and architecture in Europe. But first of all, one needs to know the factors that affect the human activities, which are social, economic, and functional, as well as human feelings and emotions. According to Giedion, we need to determine harmonies between our inner and outer world, and it's very important for Giedion. From Giedion's point of view, there are three institutional buildings that shape the characteristic of the architecture of the time. Gropius' Bauhaus at Dessau in 1926, and secondly, Le Corbusier's The League of Nations Palace at Geneva in 1927, and thirdly, Alto's Sanatorium at Pamio in 1929. The common points of these buildings are that they all can be grasped as a whole not from one point but from various points, which proves their space-time conception, and they all harbor the integrity of form, separate functions in inseparable units. To sum up, Sigfried Giedion was a well-rounded historian and intellectual, never giving up his hopes and endeavors for the construction of the new architecture as well as a new society. He believed in history to find the way out of the recollection and project the way towards future. He believed in power of feeling as well as thinking in order to be out of the woods and for the progress of humanity. He constructed his writings according to the line he followed, thus space, time, and architecture have come out of these beliefs. This book has been the book for modern architecture, and it stated not only the result but also the causes that led to the formation of the new architecture. The medium the book was born into, the themes it dealt with, and the reactions it received provided and enthusiastic research throughout this thesis, with the developing views that the critical discourse will produce space, time, and architecture will continue to be one of the subject matters of modern architecture history. And thank you so much for listening. And finally, I hope that I gave some effective and important informations about space-time and architecture and also Sigfried Giedion. Thank you so much.